I'm going to introduce Jess Daniels. She is a guiding light for our organization. She lives in the Twin Cities region, but she does all of a lot of the back end for Fibershed. If you're in communication with our organization, you are often speaking with Jess. And I'm so grateful that she's actually instigated a Fibershed in her community in Minnesota. And she is going to be, when we brought Jess on, we were talking about, you're about to move. You were in Oakland, and now you're moving to the Twin Cities. And so how do we keep you? And this idea of her helping us understand, again, what we could do to help move with the interest of this amazing, with Lonnie Estelle's amazing wool, for instance. How, if you were a rancher with this much wool or even a smaller amount of wool, how could you move your wool through a supply chain to add value to it? What is left on the landscape that might allow you to help you move through the value addition process? And we realized that before we invest capitally in new mills, we have to swell the business of the existing mills. Right? So if you go to an investor and you say, we need a mill for our community, we need a new scouring line, we need 1.3 million, we need 4.5 million, we need 26 million, whatever your number is to help you rebuild the infrastructure between the farm and the skin, all the stuff that goes in between, all the milling. Those capital investors consistently ask, well, how are the other mills doing? What's the demand? So those two questions, what's the demand and how are the other mills doing, have been interesting questions to answer. So we have been trying to answer them for several years, and we're cracking the code on those answers. But part of the solution to answering how are the other mills doing is to drive business their direction. We need to support American manufacturing. If anything that we might have just learned from this last election is that we need to pause and help people in this country get some work that's meaningful to them. And I think that textile milling, we've lost 800,000 textile milling jobs since NAFTA. You can see very clearly why certain things went the way they did in the last election. Trade deals have ruined our industry. They have. So as we rebuild, we need to do this people-powered. And I'm so glad that we're not going to pass the Trans-Pacific Partnership. I'm hearing that one's dead. Whew, thank God. But so Jess, I would just like you to come up and share with us what you have done to help us create this network of understanding about what infrastructure is left on our landscape. Thank you, and welcome.
This is two forward. Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Rebecca, for that really lovely introduction. It's so nice to be closer. Okay. It's really wonderful to be back. I was in the Bay Area, part of the Northern California Fibershed. I hope you can hear me in the back. Yeah, it's just wonderful. The Wool Symposium is such an amazing showcase of everything in the community here. So I'm going to chat about the National Mill Inventory, which is still in development and forthcoming, but it's been an exciting project. First, I should thank my research partner who I started the project with, Tess Meinert, who's at the University of Oregon. And currently, I've been receiving a lot of research support from Maddie Barsht, who's in Minnesota. And I want to just start by saying that there are so many steps from field to fabric. I know that there was the true cost of making a sweater panel this morning, chatting about that a little bit. For me, I'm a hand knitter, and so I thought I had a certain understanding of wool comes off an animal and it goes into yarn, and I can knit it with my own two hands. To get through those, there's so many steps that require different specifications, from creating enough volume of fiber to be processed at a mill, and then the difference between a hand knitting yarn and getting to cloth. So I know in this room there's diversity of people who probably have different experiences. Some fiber producers are doing beautiful jobs making their own yarn with local mills or regional mills. We now have community-supported cloth, which has gone all the way to a finished cloth, available in April. But the steps from field to finished fabric include scouring the fleece, picking it, carding it, sometimes combing it, depending on the finished product, drafting it out, spinning it, and then you could go into knitting or weaving and finishing that into goods. And the reason it's important to look at different steps and understand all of the different pathways is because each of those pathways requires a different set of machinery and a different expertise, a different mechanical knowledge. And I know from listening into the True Cost of Raising Sheep panel this morning, there was a discussion of labor and how labor is an important factor in raising sheep and that finding quality people to work with. Well, in researching mills, we've actually heard a lot of the same thing, that finding people who can do these skills, who have experience with the hands-on aspect or repairing old machinery, that these are kind of lost arts or less interest in our digital age and intellectual age. So talking about scale as well, scale and connectivity between the supply chain. So when we look at our Fibershed as a regional system, we have producers at all different levels who have different amounts of fiber. We have producers who have really large flocks or who have super fine fiber. These also are qualitative factors for inputting into a system. And we also know that in our broader community with the Fibershed affiliate network, which has over 45 groups worldwide, that we're receiving questions pretty consistently from Fibersheds around the country asking where they can get their fiber processed, how they can start to work on projects that are working toward finished goods for their community. So we know that there are missing links between people, and we need to, as Rebecca mentioned, before we invest in new mills or, trying to put all our eggs in one basket, we need to see who's on the landscape. So to do that, we started looking at researching who's out there, collecting a list of mills around the country who Fibershed producers had worked with or who we could find online through searching, through just talking to people, through this research and reaching out to mills and talking to who's out on the landscape. We've tried to understand what services are offered, what capabilities are available, and again, looking at scale, how much fiber is required to work with a certain mill. Do they accept all types of animal fiber like alpaca and wool, or can they work with hemp and linen? Because again, these all require different types of machinery and different knowledge sets. So what we're trying to put together is a baseline example and a navigational tool. And the idea is that you can explore your region's offerings as well as fiber processing capabilities around the country through this interactive map. It's not online quite yet as we're figuring out the technical final details, but that you could explore what mills are available to you in your area or that meet your requirements, and just get to know who's still in existence in the US so that we can support regional manufacturing. We can look at decentralizing our textile systems. I think I skipped one. Total on the map, we have just over 100 mills. And that does also represent a range of scales from mini mills, which is a particular type of equipment, a Belfast mini mill, which can really serve small farms, hand spinning quantities of yarn, to make roving for spinners, all the way up to some of the largest mills, which are generally on the East Coast. I think Crystal Moody mentioned in the panel earlier to working with Jagger Brothers in Maine. Yes, okay. Relationship building tool that we hope this map will be a way for people to connect with mills. As I mentioned, we're getting a baseline and an understanding of who's on the land. We don't have a way of certifying every mill, so I can't say that we've worked with everyone or that we know exactly what their product looks like on the end, but we're starting to understand what they can do, what their turnaround time might be, what staple lengths of fiber they accept. And that offers us a lot of opportunities to reach out. So we are encouraging people, whether you're a fiber producer or maybe you're a designer or a knitter who's always wanted to make your own yarn, ways you could connect with a mill that allows you to build a relationship with them, because we found from talking to mills that that's really the best way, the most regarded way to develop a good quality product. Some of the challenges and opportunities that we've come across with this project. So one thing that, again, I kind of learned throughout researching this is that there's a big difference between a hand knitter's yarn, the steps involved in that, and then developing a value chain that can actually take you to a finished cloth. Because there are different technical requirements, what a weaving loom needs versus what a hand knitter needs in a yarn. Even as simple as it has to be on a balanced cone to go into a weaving loom. That might be a specific machine that only a select few mills have. And our map won't necessarily represent that, our resource, but putting together a report to summarize the findings. And again, if you start to reach out to mills and build a relationship, talk to mills about what projects have you done? Have you created a yarn for a mechanical loom, or is your customer base mostly hand knitters? So you can start to get an understanding of what their capacity is. We have noticed a couple bottlenecks. This was something we went into the project curious to see who is on the landscape for scouring, because we know that getting fleece from in the grease to ready to go into carding machinery is a big bottleneck, because there are 2 scouring facilities at scale, at a large scale in the US. One is in Texas and one is in South Carolina. A lot of the smaller mills who serve their regional community are, they might have a scouring setup, a scouring line, that can move a considerable volume, but it's hand assisted. So that can be a big bottleneck in terms of time that it takes to actually get from fleece to yarn or fabric. And then it can also affect the results on a technical scale, because the scouring equipment has different quality controls, and Chargier's is the only place making combed top at scale, which is necessary for a true worsted yarn. So these are things that we hope by identifying them, we can start to understand, is there more demand for maybe another scouring plant, or are there ways we could fortify existing regional mills to bolster their capacity to work with more regional fiber. And one example of that, because another maybe not a bottleneck, but a hindrance and an obstacle is minimums. And I know Ryan Houston mentioned that his mill works with pretty small minimums for the type of looms he has, and that's really unique and incredible to have in your community. A lot of fiber processing mills also have minimums for how much fiber you need to have to access their services. But one thing we've heard both from mills and also from some community groups is the idea of pooling fiber together, and that can create unique blends of different fiber qualities, or you could have different colors by blending, and by aggregating supply, you're able to access different supply chain partners that you might not be able to get to on your own. And along that same line, on the demand side, we hope that by making mills more accessible or opening up this sort of relationship building tool, that we'll see more brands come online who are willing to invest in a farm partnership, in being the pull-through to create a supply chain. And we've seen that with community-supported cloth, where a brand says, yes, we'll buy, we'll invest in the processing phase rather than putting that all on the farmer to get it to a yarn or a cloth. And similarly, we can aggregate demand as a community. So what if we all put our support behind our producers to get them the capital that they need to pay for the fiber processing and the shipping, or to work with a mill who's maybe a new partner for them? These are really exciting opportunities to create a diversity of products and keep our finances local or regional or even national when we have to go across the country. But as Lonnie mentioned, we can stop the flow of all of our resources going overseas and then coming back to us without any real traceability. And lastly, there's just so much beauty in building relationships, and I think we've seen that through so many Fibershed projects on a one-to-one scale, whether you're participating in our knit-along, which is starting, which I'm excited about, and you get to know a fiber producer directly and you can knit with their yarn, or if you're a fiber producer or a brand who wants to take on a project investing and investigating milling, I hope that this will be a great resource for you and that you can get to know our milling landscape a little bit better. And similarly, I hope that if you're interested in it, that you can chat with me after or contact me online. I'd love to talk to you about it, and I'd love to know, what experiences you might have had working with a mill or what you're looking for that you can't find, so that we can build a shared resource for the community and by the community. Because again, it's not a certification system or anything that's where we're verifying mill experiences, so we need to kind of share with one another who the supply chain partners are that are working best within communities and what networks are available. Yeah, thanks. Okay, I can take 2 questions, and then we're moving into updates from the community. Yes. Yeah, the question was about affiliate capacity and whether we're offering resources to Fibershed affiliates. I would love to, and I think that's something I really hope this tool can be a way for people to explore. I know because I get to interact with Fibershed affiliate organizers, and there's a lot of different levels of understanding when someone approaches Fibershed about joining as an affiliate, which anyone can do if anyone else here is from out of town. But the idea of Fibershed is a noun, as a strategic geography, is getting to know who's in your area and who has capabilities for creating regional textiles. So certainly knowing what mills are in your area is a huge asset for that, and I hope that this serves the affiliates. We did reach out to the affiliate organizers early on in the project to engage and see if anyone wanted to help do the research or help share information about mills, and so a couple affiliate organizers have helped as well, and I hope that continues. Is there one more question? Oh, and then I would like to invite the updates from the community folks up here. I don't have the list of who it is, but I hope you know who you are. Okay. Lauren Poncha.
Okay, so, sorry.
I'll let you take over.
I just got a little update from BCB. We have a Jean Neer film before we do our community updates.
Definitely, the friends I've made has been wonderful, and the fact that we get together to do something that we feel is really worthwhile, and the fact that we have brought dark, black, brown, gray wool to be accepted and appreciated. All of that has been fun. We enjoy one another because we have the same problems and the same interests and such things as learning about such things as a guard dog, and learning such things as putting covers on our sheep so that the wool is cleaner. It may seem like work, and it is, but it becomes interesting and fun when you have a bunch of friends and you meet every so often